I'm going to show you how to replace this swing cylinder on this BT750 Backhoe. I have a B20 Kubota tractor. So I've actually already taken out the swing cylinder, but I'll just describe what I did and I can show putting it back in. I couldn't find any videos on how to do this, and so I just kind of did what I thought would work, and turns out it did work. But it's a lot easier if you actually know what you're doing ahead of time. So just thought I'd put this little video together. All right, this is the swing cylinder right here. So there's two of them, one on each side. This is the one that's removed. The one that's still in place is, it's kind of hard to see, but it's right back here. A little difficult to see because of the position of the backhoe right now. But basically what you've got is this thing is all fixed together on the piston or on the cylinder. So this is all welded together. It's all one piece. And so it's got these posts on it. And those posts are going to go, those posts go in these slots here. And there's one on the bottom and there's one on the top. Although the one on top you can't quite see right now because it's actually pushed up in there. But here's the one, and it's kind of hard to see. Well, I guess it's not that hard. So this is the one that's installed. So this is what you're going to be looking at when you're going to take it out. And basically you got these plates here. You got a plate on bottom and a plate on top. And each of these plates has 4 bolts. And you're gonna have the nuts accessible on this side, and then the head of the bolt is gonna be on the either the underside or the top, depending if you're talking about the bottom or top plate. But basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna unscrew all 8 of these bolts. And what that's going to do, so say you're talking about the bottom one, so you're going to undo all of these bolts, and you undo all 4 of those on the bottom. And what's going to happen is this this plate will enable, when you remove all the bolts, it'll enable the posts, which are fixed. Well, the plates are going to move. So the top plate and the bottom plate are going to move. The bottom one will move down, the top plate will move up, and that'll allow you to take this whole thing out. And that's why this top one is up in there right now, because I got to push it. Once I get the piston, the cylinder back in place, I gotta push that top plate back down, and that'll lock it in place. And then once the plates are back in place, I can screw these back on, and it'll fix those plates and lock that piston in there. So for this one, taking it out, take these bolts out, and then you're going to be able to jam like some sort of a screwdriver or something in between the cylinder and this plate bracket, and you'll be able to push these apart. And so at that point, you know, for example, this one, I pushed these apart and this top one kind of came up. And then I was able to just kind of pull this thing out. So some other things, so really it's about undoing those bolts. The plates will then move, so you'll be able to pull the cylinder out. Of course, some other things, you'll need to take the attachment here off. Let me see if I got here it is. So you got this here. So this just goes in here, it locks this in place. And so you'll take this off, of course, that'll free that up. And then you're also gonna have three connections for the lines. 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna have to, of course, unscrew those. Those can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I'm always a little worried about breaking off these connections here, which would be a disaster if that happened. But so you know what I do is I take one wrench and I hold on to these fittings just to keep them in place so I'm not putting torque on the fittings. And then I use the other wrench to free up the connection. All right, I just got those lines connected back up. You can see I got the one there, and the one back there, and then there's one on the inside as well. It's accessible around there. So this work would actually be a lot easier if the backhoe was not connected to the tractor itself. But you know, with this tractor, these attachments are so difficult to get on and off that I just felt I felt like it was a lot easier since it was already connected. Just leave the tractor connected, and you can do it with it connected. You just have to reach back behind here when you're working these bolts, and it's not easy. Like it is a little bit difficult, but you can do it. And in my opinion, it's easier to go ahead and do that than to go through the trouble of actually removing the whole attachment and then putting it back on. So I just left it on, and I was able to get this done with those on. It's not terribly difficult, but it is a little bit tricky. So, but if it's already off, then definitely leave it off, because you're gonna have better access to the plates and the bolts and the fittings and stuff in there. And so it'll just be easier work to do. So next thing I'm gonna do, again, putting this thing back together, is I'm gonna get those posts inside the brackets and then get the plates secured in place with the bolts. Okay, I managed to get those posts inside of the holes in the brackets. And so now, let me just focus it. So now it's just a matter of putting the bolts through and tightening that down, and that'll close that gap there once I tighten those things down. Looking good so far. All right, so I got all these bolts in on the lower plate, and to tighten these bolts, I'm gonna need 2 of these wrenches. I got a 3/4 wrench with a little socket turning thing, and then the other one is a 19 millimeter. Either size is gonna work on these bolts. All right, I got those bolts back in. No issues really, but just kind of tedious being 8 bolts and 16 nuts. It just takes a little bit of time, but I got those back in. So the next step will be, you can see how this is not gonna reach all the way over to here. When they rebuilt this, they adjusted the position of the hydraulic cylinder. So what I'm going to do, because all the hoses are already hooked up and everything's in place except for this one connection here, what I'm going to do, I'll just start up the tractor and then use the hydraulics to open this cylinder up such that it'll line up with the opening here on this this piece, and then I'll just stick this through it, and then I'll be all set. All right, all done. I got the piston moved into place so they're lined up, and then I just made sure the cotter pin holes lined up also, hammered the thing in, and then put the cotter pin in. So it's all done. So that was kind of a demonstration of how to put the thing back in. If you want to take it out, just do what I did in reverse, and I described that process earlier. So hope this was helpful. Thanks.